What's up, guys? It's Gary with Fresh from the Farm Fungi. I'm here in Denver, Colorado, and today I'm about to go snowshoeing up at Guanella Pass and scope out some mushroom spots. But before I head out, I wanted to do a quick video on a question that I get asked so often. It's actually a kind of a two-part question, but how hard is it to start a mushroom farm, and what are the costs involved in starting a mushroom farm? So I just went through my numbers. We're about to go into year 3 and I'm very excited, and it's finally starting to feel like, we have some traction going, and it's a lot more. I feel more confident going into year 3 than all the previous years of growing mushrooms. So it was about 5 years ago today, give or take a couple days, where I grew my first ever mushrooms. So it was a terrible batch. I ended up getting a bunch of trichoderma. I started off with like a little mushroom seed pack from Amazon. It was an agaricus species, and I wasn't going to give up though. So it probably took about 3 weeks to realize that all the mycelium that was growing was in fact mold, and that was very disheartening. So I went out and got a book, or I think I just downloaded the PDF file of Paul Stamets's The Mushroom Cultivar, and I read it entirely in one night, and that was kind of what sparked my initial interest. I also am a foodie, and cooking is a big part of our day, so we were starting to explore some different mushrooms. I had heard some of my hunting friends talk about chanterelles, and it was really exciting to see that there's this whole realm of mushrooms out there that I wasn't familiar with. So that was about 5 years ago. At the time, I was a tissue culture scientist at one of the grow spots here in Denver, and I had bred over 84 different strains, and we were tissue culturing them for production. So that coincided with mushroom cultivation, which is where my passion kind of linked to this whole industry. And tissue culture is very similar to mushroom cultivation. In fact, it's my plan in the future to combine those two skills again and start some kind of a terraform farm where I can grow mycorrhizal species, and I'll be getting more into that in the spring. But that was kind of my initial, push into the mushroom industry. So I had a little bit of laboratory experience. Actually, prior to that, I worked at blood bank and a few, hospitals in Buffalo, New York. And then we moved out here, and I worked at a stem cell facility for about 2.5 years, where it was a complete sterile clean room. So my profession that led up to where I am today kind of coincided with mushroom farming, but I don't want to discourage anyone. That kind of just was my path into owning a mushroom business. So fast forward about 1.5 years from there, and that's when I started Fresh from the Farm Fungi. So I was a supervisor at a microbiology lab that we were quality testing different samples and doing yeast and mold screening and PCR screening for different contaminants. And it was about 2 years in where I decided that it was time to step away from the corporate world and start my own mushroom farm. So 1.5 years ago, I started Fresh from the Farm Fungi, and it took about $15,000 to get everything up and going from that point. So I was very lucky to have found a mentor. So my dad's friend, her husband had been growing mushrooms for a decade or a little bit longer. Shout out to Anthony at Niagara Falls Mushrooms. And he was so kind enough to guide me through the first, steps of building a mushroom farm, which I feel obligated to help all of you guys because someone was so kind enough to help me. So it makes me feel good to pass on the knowledge and just give people hope. So it was $15,000. I took it out of my savings, and I bought a flow hood. That was probably the biggest expense, was to get my lab up and running. I also, searched on Craigslist and talked to some friends and found, some really good deals on lab equipment. One of the labs was getting a new incubator, so I got it wasn't a brand new, but brand new to me. I got a really nice incubator for $50, and that's when it started taking off. So I started off in just a little 4x4 tent, and I've been growing mushrooms for about 2 or 3 months, and finally I got a customer from our Craigslist ad, and I'll never forget this. Some guy rode his bike from an hour away to buy some lion's mane, and it made my day just to see how excited that person was. And we had cooked up lion's mane, and it was delicious, and not many people understood lion's mane at the time, but I was lucky enough to catch some momentum really early. And from there, I invested some more money into education, like educating myself, doing some ebooks. We went and saw Paul Stamets when he came to CU Denver and gave a talk, and that really inspired my wife and I. He really harped on preserving bees and the environment, and that was something that I hadn't even thought of until that point, was the utility of the fungi. I just liked growing it for food and as a cool business that I could start. So it was about that fall where I dove all in, and up until that point we probably spent about $15,000 on grow equipment, education seminars, and licensing and insurance. So that initial investment was the first year. We didn't really see any of that money back until the following year when we joined the Cherry Creek Farmers Market. So that was probably the most difficult time in our business so far. So I think that the term hard is a relative term. So it's really hard to say if it was hard or not, because I was so determined to succeed. Now, there was a bunch of errors that I had to overcome early on, which were very devastating. I remember one of my batches that I made, everything was contaminated with trichoderma. That was a hard point in my journey. I almost, stopped at that point. I put in 18 hours of work, like from making my spawn to making my grow bags, and then 3 days later everything was contaminated. So I just took a breather and I started over, and I evaluated my process and figured out what I was doing wrong. So that was probably the hardest hurdle up until that point, was just getting success consistently. So about 2 or 3 months into the farmers market, I came across, another problem where I didn't have enough product at that point. So it was really difficult for me to show up to farmers markets with a lot less than, what I had anticipated early on. So that was another issue. And I adjusted my grow. I got better strains, and slowly, my yields went up. So that was another hurdle, was to sit through that pain of like early on farmers market where you're showing up with 10 or 15 pounds, and we were selling out by 10 a.m. But it was the policy for our farmers market that we had to stay there so that we could meet our customers. And it was a really cool opportunity because I talked to so many different chefs and restaurant owners and really cool people in the area, and that kind of branched out my network just by staying around. We were sold out, but everyone's like, what are you sold out of? What are you sold out of? So that was another hurdle that we had to overcome. And then eventually we got to the point where we produced way too many mushrooms, and we didn't understand the ebb and flow of the market season and the grow season. And that was a third hurdle that we had to overcome. where we had, you know, so many mushrooms. I was eating mushrooms 3 times a day, and like I love mushrooms, but it becomes a little bit too much and you're not seeing your return. So we had to adjust our grow schedule so that we were accommodating the people who wanted our mushrooms, and we weren't overproducing and wasting money. And there was a big, huge ebb and flow of our first year. So that takes us to about a year ago from now. And I was very fortunate enough to find a great partner, my wife. And, you know, we live pretty frugally, and we had invested all of our earnings back into the business. I'm very thankful that, you know, she is as patient as me. And I just want to let people know we have, you know, other sources of income. So this isn't my sole source of income, but now, you know, it's starting to gain traction. And I just wanted to let people know, about 2 years into our business, the start of this past farmers market was when we started seeing some reward. So it's very satisfying. You know, we have our core group of customers that I'm very thankful for. I just want to give a shout out to all of our Cherry Creek farmers market customers, all of our co-op customers, everyone at Lion's Mane. They've been a huge help too. Just passing on, you know, the word for our classes. We're going to be starting up our grow classes again this January, and I'm super thankful for Zach and Anna. They've helped us a lot develop these classes over the past year and a half, and that has been, you know, another avenue that has helped our business stay afloat. So I'm just really thankful for everyone, including you guys on YouTube, and I just wanted to, you know, just kind of answer some questions that I get regularly, and just give some guidance to some new people. So my advice is, you know, stay persistent. Don't go in over your head. If I could do it over, I probably would have even started smaller than I did, and just, you know, stay focused and learn from your mistakes. It's just like anything else in life. You're gonna have mistakes, you're gonna have errors, but just stick with it, and over time you'll start to see success. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'm really excited to go snowshoeing. We just got some fresh powder, and I think my wife's going to be joining soon. So I'll wrap this up. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're looking forward to more videos like these. Tune in Fungi Fridays, Friday at 4 to 5 Mountain Time. We do live Q&A, and this week I'm going to be going over to the new lab and pouring some plates, and I'll show you guys a tip I have with the Myers Mushroom Flow Hood. So stay tuned for this Friday. I hope everyone has a happy new year. 2021 is looking to be, you know, a really good year. I hope that this pandemic blows over, and I'm just staying patient, and I'm hoping that, you know, the economy can recover, and I'm staying positive, and as long as we got our mushrooms, we're gonna stay nice and healthy. So shout out to all the mushroom lovers, and thank you guys for all the support, and tune in to more videos like these. All right guys, until next time, much love. So we're about 12,000 feet, probably closer to 11,000 feet, and there's a really nice ravine here. We got some blue spruce and some aspen, so I might come check this out in the springtime. It's a northern slope headed that way. I feel like this would be a really cool spot to hunt some porcini.